My name is Wendy Adams, and I absolutely love teaching writing. For the first 2 to 3 weeks of my writing instruction, I focus on three things. The first thing is I want to start motivating students to write. Second, I want to build their writing stamina, that they're not just writing for 5 minutes, but they can write for 15 to 20 minutes. And the third thing I do in the first 2 to 3 weeks is we work on generating ideas that we'll use later in the school year. This is my first writing lesson of every school year. It usually takes place on the first or second day of school. And normally when we're in school, the students form a very large circle on the floor. We all sit on the floor, including myself. And sometimes the circle looks a little bit weird depending on if there's 30 to 35 students in my class. And I use this first lesson as a storytelling activity. And the students don't even realize it is a writing lesson at first. So here's what it would look like virtually.
Good morning, my two awesome students.
Good morning, Miss Adams.
As I already told you while we were waiting, I am so excited today because I can see you and show my presentation at the same time, which makes me very excited. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to go to present now. This time I just get to show you a window and I'm going to click share. Imagine that, click share. On the first day of school, I don't even go over a writing standard. I actually just have you guys form this gigantic circle on the floor. Even with 30, 35 students, it kind of looks like a weird shaped circle. I'm going to start today by telling a story. While I'm telling my story, I want you guys to be thinking about these words over here. Who is my story about? What is it about? When, that's your setting. So whenever you're telling a story, you got who, the characters, when, the setting, what it is about is the plot, and where has to do with the setting as well. Now, if you're an advanced storyteller, you might be able to include some sensory details. So as I'm telling my story, I want you to listen for, did I say I could see, I could hear, I could smell? I'll try to fit at least one or two of those sensory details in my story. Now, when I was thinking about this story to tell you today, I wanted to pick a story that was kind of recent in the last 6 months, because what happens if you tell a story from 5 years ago, you know?
You won't remember it very well.
Yeah, what else could happen, Rayanne?
Might forget all the details.
Yeah, you would forget all the details, okay? It was a cool March morning in Las Vegas, about a week after the schools shut down for the coronavirus. And I remember my son, Jaden, and I, we started out the morning by going for a bike ride. We might have rode to Rayanne's house, I can't remember. And as we were riding, I could see the beautiful clear blue skies. And I remember Jaden and I talking about it because during the coronavirus, when everybody was supposed to stay home, the skies were so bright and clear because not as many people were driving and all the smog wasn't in the air. So we went on our bike ride and then we came home, and I needed to figure out how in the world was I going to teach you guys virtually from home with just what I had in my house. So the first thing I did is I went to the closet in my laundry room. And I remembered I know this is weird, but I had an extra pad of chart paper, like the chart paper I would put on the easel in the classroom. I was like, but how am I going to hang this? How am I going to get it on the wall? How am I going to get it so the computer can be facing the chart paper? So then I went into the kitchen and I grabbed a bar stool and some string, and I started rigging up the chart paper to stand on a bar stool. And it was quite a mess. The string broke. I was tying it. It kept falling over, but eventually I got chart paper rigged up to a bar stool. So that was my first thing I got excited about. Okay, I can teach with chart paper. And then I remembered in my house that I had a whiteboard that I sometimes use with my son, Jaden. But my thing is I didn't want to just hold the whiteboard up because I thought, gosh, first of all, I can't write and I can't hold it steady. So I decided to rig up my whiteboard box. And I know you guys saw this, where I took my whiteboard and I took a cheese grater and I taped the whiteboard and the cheese grater at an angle. And then I put my whiteboard on top of an Amazon box because I needed it to stand up a little higher so that my computer could see the whiteboard. And then I decided to go ahead and wrap the Amazon box in Christmas paper because, you know, I wanted it to be cute and not just an Amazon box. And it took me a while and it was hilarious, but I had it all taped together and rigged up so that I could teach you guys math lessons. And that was quite a fun memory on just putting together the tools that I needed to teach you for virtual learning. Okay, so if we look back at our slide, can you tell me the characters that were in that story? And go ahead and raise your hand, kind of like you do in class. Ezekiel, who were the characters?
You.
And my son, Jaden, okay? Did I incorporate anything with the setting, Rayanne? The when and the where?
Outside.
We were outside for the bike ride. Anything else with the setting? Go ahead, Ezekiel.
In your house.
In my house. How about, did you hear any sensory details? Ezekiel?
I could see.
Yeah, do you remember what I could see as we were riding our bikes?
You could. Didn't you say you could see the clear blue sky?
Yeah, do you remember why, Rayanne?
Because there isn't as many cars on the road.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. So, and what was this story? So the what is kind of like the plot of the story. What was this story basically about? Good. Ezekiel, you want to add on to that?
It was about preparing for the first day of online school.
Awesome. Okay. Now, was this story perfect?
Mm-mm.
No. And it's, you kind of like, I tell a story and it's kind of like a rough draft, and then I could go back and you could ask me questions. Does anybody else, okay, think about in the last 6 months, does anybody else have a story they want to share? While Rayanne's sharing her story, we're also going to be listening for the who, what, where, when, and maybe she could throw in a sensory detail, but we'll see. Go ahead, Rayanne.
So this is like my birthday. So it was in April. It was April 9th and 2020, and it was in Las Vegas. And so I wanted Sienna over for like the longest time since school. We haven't had her over since it closed. So I'm like, really want her to sleep over. And so I wake up really early, like 6 a.m. And I go in, try to wake my parents up. And, you know, they wake up like a million hours later. And so they're waking up. And they say, go in my room. Yeah. And I literally came out and Sienna was there. And I was like so excited. It's funny. And so the rest of the day, people kept on like coming. Somebody, Noah and Ryland actually came by with like a birthday parade kind of. It was like 2 cars though. And it was really fun. And we also got cookies from my godmother. So yeah, it was fun. And Sienna slept over.
Is in class on this first day, at least 3 or 4 students would get to tell a story. And after that, the next thing we would do is everybody would take out their composition book. Composition books can be black and white. They can be colored, whatever you have. And then at this point, I would share that this is going to be our life book. And in the next couple of days, we're going to talk about how life books can look and how we can decorate them. So this is my very first life book or writer's notebook I've ever made. And so our life book or our writer's notebook is going to become very personal to you. But for today, for our storytelling activity, the only thing you have to do is open to the very first page of your life book. And the only thing that I require every single day that we write in this life book is the date. Okay, So today is August 17th, 2020. Okay. For this first day of writing, you get to write that story that maybe was in your mind, any story that you have or any memory that you have that you would like to write about. Only requirement is to have the date. Okay, so if you look at this slide on the screen, you guys can see that slide, right?
Yes.
Okay, you'll always have this little timer. And I love to put a little quote on here. It says, a writer's notebook gives you a place to live like a writer, not just at school during writing time, but wherever you are at any time of the day. So we're going to take just the next 10 to 12 minutes, and you guys are going to write anything you want to write about. Isn't that awesome?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you may begin. Okay, our timer went off. As soon as our timer goes off, I'd like to take that last minute that you can finish writing a sentence, or you can read what you already wrote. So go ahead and look at your writing, and you can finish writing that sentence, or I want you to reread what you just wrote. Okay, you can always add details, make corrections as you're rereading. Okay, let's come back together. And when we come to our whole group lesson closure, we like to come together as a group. And when we share our writing, whoever's not sharing is going to make sure that their life book is closed so that we become a good listener, okay? During this time, I want you to think of questions or compliments that you can give the other person. How do we show that we're good listeners? We already talked about this. We look at the other person. We show interest. Again, what are you wondering about? And what are the detailed questions that can help them with their writing? Okay, so who would like to share their writing?
One day, my mom, dad, and brother were going up the ski lift at Lake Tahoe, and my brother, who was the least observant person in the world, said he saw a bear. My family didn't believe him at first, but once we got off the ski lift, he ran over to where he saw the bear and said, "I told you I saw the bear." He pointed to it. My mom was shocked. We told the guys that ran the ski lift that there was a bear. They told me that workers that were wow, English please. They told the workers that there was a bear, and then they scared it off with a dog. Later that day, my mom said that if my brother didn't see that bear, we might have just got gobbled up by it.
Wow, great story. Okay, Ezekiel, you can unmute yourself. So I want you to think about characters, setting, sensory details. What questions, what compliments or questions do you have for Rayanne, Ezekiel? Rayanne, I loved how you introduced who was in the story, where it was at. I know I heard your family members in Lake Tahoe. Do you remember what you could see?
It was a forest. I could see a forest, a lot of trees.
Okay, so green. Were they nice and green?
Yeah.
Okay, so green trees. Anything else you remember seeing?
A little tiny little piles of snow. Not that much though.
Oh, it was like near a ski lift, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you see the big lift chairs up high?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you might be able to add that detail. Awesome. Ezekiel, what are you wondering about her story? Or do you have any compliments or questions for her?
So, do you know what type of bear it was?
It was a brown bear, I'm pretty sure. A brown bear.
And reflections. There was some positives and some things I have to work on, as with it's going to happen for every virtual lesson. Great news. I was able to use Duelist, the Chrome extension, so I could see my students, which was amazing. However, at one point in the lesson, I had no idea, I didn't even realize that my students weren't able to see what I was doing on the document camera or the Elmo. So the lesson I learned is I kind of need to ask the students, can you see what's on my Elmo? So that's an improvement for next time. The tech people at my school are going to help set up 2 monitors, which I'm really excited to use that in the future. Other than that, I'm trying to teach the same similar lessons that I would do if I were live. It doesn't look the same. Is it what I really want? No. I honestly would love more than anything to have that interaction with the kids. Boy, do I miss their hugs. So it's not the same, but I wanted to share with you that I can teach a lot of these lessons that I would normally teach at school. They're just going to look a little bit different, and I'm going to improve each time. Remember, progress before perfection.
That's so going. Ezekiel, you can't drink your water during the lesson.
That's probably bloopers.
Yes. We will put that on the bloopers.
No eating in class.
Right? Okay, back to the lesson, children.
If you like some of the strategies that I shared in this video, please make sure to hit the like button and share with any teachers that you know. And remember to subscribe to my channel.